We're live.
What is going on, people? Welcome to the greatest podcast in the universe, the Invincible Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and today I'm joined by Richard Bailey Jr.,
What's up, everybody?
Carlos Romero,
Yo, what's going on?
and Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
All right, guys, we are here to discuss season 3, episode 7. Bro, full disclosure, this is the episode I've been waiting to talk about ever since we launched this podcast. However many years ago it was, I've been waiting for this moment. And they didn't name. I don't know. I don't pay attention to the headline names or the episode names, but in the comics, this is called the Invincible War. So the whole time I've been like, I cannot wait to talk about the Invincible War. Invincible War was the first big event in the series. And they brought it to life, and it's crazy. I'll just make this one note, and I'll probably come back to it later. Initially, I was surprised that it's one episode because in the comics it was 2 comic books. So I was like, this is what I thought. And this is me also just remembering things kind of differently. I was like, yo, when the Invincible War happens, that's like half the season. I thought it was going to be 4 episodes dedicated to this shit. But no, they did 1 episode, but they didn't skip on anything. Everything happened as it is, because in the comics, obviously, you have one issue that's just a big brawl, and then the next issue, kind of the aftermath. And we got both in one. So, bro, crazy shit. So let's get into it, man. As you know, the episode kicks off, seeing how Mr. Angstrom survived. He was saved by these guys called the Technicians and stuff. And then few months later, he comes back with his invincible army. It's like 18 of them, I believe. And things kind of start like that's the setup. And then you have this little moment with Mark and Eve at home, and he's kind of regretting what happened with Powerplex and all that. So thinking about all the bullshit, and then bam, it goes crazy. And this episode was broken up into 3 days, so we're gonna go by each day. But yeah, what'd you guys think of that initial setup?
Yo, man, I think we have something in common. This is the episode that me and you have been waiting for from the jump. I just didn't know about it.
You just didn't know about it. Yeah, Carlos, let the people know where you ranked this episode.
I told Tony, I texted the group. I'm like, this is a top 3 Invincible episode for me. And I want to apologize. That's lies. That's not facts. That's cat. It's top 2.
Oh.
This episode had everything. It had emotion, it had intrigue, it had mystery, it had the action, man. It was the best animated episode in my opinion. Maybe here's my top 2, just for a little spoiler on that. It's this episode, and it's the Mark versus Omni-Man episode, the classic one. I think everyone remembers that one. Yeah, those 2 are top tier, not only in story and drama, but in animation and in fight scenes and everything. This episode had everything. So, yeah, man, I really dug this episode. I feel like, man, I can't believe this wasn't like a season finale type episode.
It felt like one, didn't it? know.
So we still got more coming. So, yeah, man, really thoroughly enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, Rich, what are your thoughts on the initial setup for the episode?
I thought it was a fantastic episode. I would argue to say it's the best episode of the season so far. And obviously, before we get to I don't know what happens in the finale, but this is the best episode I've seen this entire season. I like the setup of everything. And I will have to quote our very good friend, Mr. Carlos Romero. He said this is maybe top 2. Well, what Carlos means to say is this is way better than the last episode of Severance. So there you go.
And if you want to hear, by the way, do you guys have a Severance podcast by any chance?
Oh no,
no. But I can do a podcast on Adam's.
There you go. And then Chris, quick thoughts on the setup for the episode with Angstrom and the Invincible Army and the calm before the storm.
I think they did a fantastic job. Like that was almost like shot for shot the panels where he escapes to the Technicians, he gets fixed, and then he has, he kind of quickly assembles the alternate universe Invincibles and stuff. I was very happy with this episode. I share Carlos's sentiment. Like this, but besides the turn of Omni-Man, this is like the best one yet. I mean, the brutality in this is just crazy. I know there's more brutality. I can't say more than that.
Yes.
I'm not like a certain publication, so I'm not
Excuse
going to
me?
say anything. But this was fantastic, and there's something I talked about in the last podcast, and this happened in the first couple of minutes with the whole the attack of all the Invincibles on the towns. You get to see someone who I mentioned before because he had he had 5 or 6 issues earlier. He had a whole story arc. Was Astounding Wolfman fighting one
Yes.
of the Invincibles, which was fantastic. I was like, oh, he's there. That's great. I know they couldn't have what they had in the comic, which is the Image verse versus the Invincibles, right? Because everybody kind of came out. I mean, you had
Yeah, I
Savage
think
Dragon
Spawn
and
showed up.
Spawn,
Like
Pit
everybody
was
fighting.
there. Everyone was there, right? Grifter was there. It's like you had everyone. But I realized Kirkman had to be restrained, but I think it's nice he put Astounding Wolfman in here finally. Like he should have been in several episodes of this because he was in the issues corresponding to them. But I was happy with this. The whole thing was very well done, well animated, and they didn't skimp on the brutality. I mean, imagine like there's like 20 or so Invincibles running around just beating the shit out of like everything around them, and then getting walloped at the same time because they're fighting every hero who could possibly match them. So it was great. All that was missing was Battle Beast just landing in the middle of it and start wailing on things.
Yeah. All right, man. So now we're gonna break it down by day. Again, there was 3 days. So we start with basically they said it was 18 Invincibles just going ham, pretty much destroying every major city in the world for no real reason. Remember, Cecil was trying to figure like what's their motive. It's like, no, they just fucking shit up. And Chris, you already said that Astounding Wolfman was there. Tech Jacket made a cameo. That was really cool. And basically every hero, like not only the ones from the comics, but also the ones they made up for the show, because there's like a One Punch Man type of guy. He was there. There was like a Overwatch girl or something that they made up for the show. She was there. Everybody was going crazy. And like, I think the first one, some of the heroes' faces like in the prison. Mark's, that version of Mark is just going insane. Rex gets into the fight, and I'll say this right now before we get into it. Remember all those scenes we had of Rex throughout the season where it was like, what was they kind of just seemed throwaway. Now you know why they were there. We kind of needed all that stuff. So basically, Debbie, she goes off with Carlos's favorite guy. What's his name? Yeah, Paul.
Sorry, Carl, it wasn't Paul after all.
It wasn't
Chris,
him.
no. Let's settle down here. I know you guys have read stuff. This is I'm playing the long game here. Yeah, Paul is too.
Carlos wants a post-credit scene of him putting on the Infinity Gauntlet. Like, I'll do it myself.
I'll do it myself. Yeah. So yeah, basically on day one, everybody's going fucking crazy, just fighting all the Invincibles. So yeah, I want to get your thoughts on all the battles that were occurring on day one, and also the different Invincibles. Like, even though they're all evil, they still had different personalities, which I thought was interesting. So, Carlos, you could start that off. Day one of the Invincible War.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, how the hell are they gonna handle this? It's so many. Shout out to I like to call it the Brett Invincible, the punk one with a faux hawk.
Oh,
okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the one at the prison. I'm like, damn, yo, man. I'm like, this is super hectic. I was curious just how they were gonna, like. That's most of my thinking is like, how the hell are they gonna take care of this? We obviously saw what happened, but yeah, all of them, all of the Invincibles were pretty cool because they're all pretty unique, and they're attacking everywhere, man. They're going all over the world.
Yeah.
By the way, one of my
City Left
predictions didn't
Behind.
come true.
Oh, which one was
that? I thought this was the perfect place for Alan the Alien and his best friend Omni-Man to make an appearance, but I was wrong. But we'll see about that.
Yeah. All right, Rich, what'd you think of day one of the Invincible War?
I just thought it was complete chaos. Now, we'll give a shout out to the Invincible that Carlos mentioned at the jail, and you saw Invincible's back and forth fight with him, even when he tried to fight him, and then you had the other heroes coming and thinking that Invincible, wait a minute, what are you doing here? They mistaked him for the other one, even though that was revealed later that no, there are multiple Invincibles. So I thought that was very intense. And I also will make a comment and say, I know you guys will, I think Chris said this is probably one of the best animated episodes. I do agree. I also think it's interesting how they took certain shortcuts where you just saw the aftermath of what these Invincibles did to other characters. You didn't see certain fights happen. You just saw people, they were really messed up because they were in the fight with the Invincibles. So very, very, very well done.
Yeah, there was before I go to you, Chris, there was a couple of things they mentioned right from the jump, like, oh, some of these Invincibles are not as strong, and that's why they were able to take them out. And yeah, like you said, Rich, they didn't trust the real Invincible for a while, and there was that one scene I really liked where basically the punk Invincible, so we're now going to call him, Mark shows up and he looks at him, he's like, yo, what the fuck you doing here? You got to go to another city to destroy stuff. And he's like, oh, you're the me from here. So that was pretty fun. So yeah, Chris, what do you think of day one?
That was very well done. I think the episode was well paced considering how much they had to condense into it.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought, like you, I thought this was going to be at least a two-parter, right? Because of just how much stuff happened. But they paced it very well. And I did like, that they explained very clearly that they had different power levels. I'm not sure why. I don't remember in the comic if they explained that or not, or that he trained more than they did. I don't know. But I not all of them spoke. The punk one spoke at the prison, and a couple of the other ones spoke, but most of them stayed quiet. Like the one who kind of looked like Omni-Man, he even had the little mustache and he was fighting Tech Jacket in space. He didn't talk, but they all behave kind of differently, like what they were doing. So that was cool. And in that kind of chaos, how would you tell the difference? Like the other heroes show up at the prison, they just see two Invincibles, they just start wailing on both of them, right?
Yeah.
And even Powerplex is like, oh shit, there's two of them? Well, I'm gonna fry somebody. So he starts attacking the one of them. So
he got his wish. He did kill an Invincible.
He did, yeah. Oh,
one thing the episode didn't say, and this is just my own little headcanon right now because the comic didn't get into this too. If there were some weaker Invincibles, I'm also assuming there were some stronger ones. And I think those 8, I think it was 8 of them that survived. I think they were the strongest of the strong. Probably comparable. Maybe one of them has to be stronger than Mark because he said he killed Omni-Man.
That's right. He said, he killed my father. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming so I like that. It's like, yes, even though they're from different universes, obviously their circumstances are going to make them either stronger or weaker. They're not all the same. And and I also think the episode did do a good job of conveying their slightly different personalities. And I want to say this right now, Stephen Young, shout out to him. He does a really good job of giving each Invincible a different voice while still maintaining his, the normal Mark voice. That was really well done. All right, so GDA got attacked and everything craziness. I think we pretty much covered day one. It's just chaos, like you guys said. All the superheroes. We saw that montage at the end. It's like all these random superheroes just got called in, So it's like, all right, we're going in. So now move on to day 2. This is when things start getting crazy, More heroes show up. Oliver decides, like, I got to fight. And Debbie obviously was like, I don't know about all that, but, he wanted help. So she couldn't stop him anyway. And then obviously people are trying to figure out, yo, who's responsible for this shit? We know who it is. And then there was a couple of things. Remember, I told you guys, Invincible, the comic did this very well, and the show does it decently, but not as good as the comics, but they still do it, where you have something happen in like season 1, and it just happens again. This one, remember that Egyptian mummy from season 1?
Yeah.
That showed up, as a fucking cameo. Like, he was trying to take over Invincible's body, but that didn't work, And then there was a scene where there was like a 2-on-1 battle. There was 2 Invincibles versus when one of them was the one who's like, yo, I like it was that one that kind of looked like a little bit more Omni-Man-ish, but without the mustache. And Eve got fucked up, not good. But yeah, so let's talk about like the first half of day 2. So this is where like things really get insane, So go ahead.
Yo, man, I got excited when Oliver got into the fray. I'm
Yeah,
like,
man.
yo, he's about to tear shit up. Yeah, this was a crazy part because, you know, as someone who hasn't read the comics, I'm just ready for anything. I have no clue what is going to happen in this episode. So that was really enjoyable. Also, shout out to I always forget his name, and I shouldn't. The GDA dude that's Cecil's
Donald?
Donald.
Donald.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Thank
Donald,
you.
man. That
Yeah, man.
dude is a freaking trooper, man. You know,
Yeah,
he's all,
Donald looking like the Terminator.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, he's ride or die because he was like, oh, Donald, you might die. I'm like, I've already died a bunch of times, bro. Yeah, so shout out.
man.
Thank you for bringing it up. I wanted to talk about Donald because that dude's cool, you know.
He ain't no duck, and you know, it looks like throughout the transgression of this season, he's accepted sort of his reality of him being, you know, just a tool for the GDA. And yeah, seeing all the other scenes where everyone's battling around, because this part of the episode is where we're pretty much getting all the different factions that are defending parts, like the what do you call it, the teen squad. I forgot the actual name for them.
We'll get to them in a bit, you know.
Yeah, man, like seeing all those, it was pretty good. I liked it. I agree with Chris. I feel like even though this was a pretty condensed episode in terms of packing everything together, it was really well paced, and I knew it was going to be special when I saw the running time. It was like 57 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty well done, that second part as well.
Yeah. Rich, what do you think of the first part of day 2? You know, Oliver getting in there, more heroes, some cameos, you know, the GDA stepping in, all that good jazz.
Well, I knew that Oliver was going to want to get involved at some point because he heard what was happening. The news was reporting and confirmed that, yes, there were the 18 Invincibles, but no one knew what their motives were. So I knew he was going to get involved. I figured Debbie was going to try to stop him, but I'm glad that she did let him go. And then that's when she decided to go off with Carlos's favorite character for, you know, to stay over his place.
I wonder why.
Yo, shoot.
Hey, just for protection. You know,
she went to the safest. She went to the safest place on the planet, and that's what Mr. Paul.
That's what he wants her to think.
That's right. But no, it was a lot more chaos. As Tony said, this is when the stakes started to raise. There's certain stuff happening. You're only talking about the first half of
yeah, we're
2,
not.
right?
Yeah, we're gonna get to the hero.
So,
you know, the superhero teams, what they had to deal with. You know.
There's
the
a lot of chaos.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, thoughts on the first half of day 2?
Oh, it's great because it's like the volume got turned up with each day segment they were going through. Like, you know, it's peaking, right? So the destruction is getting bad, the chaos is getting bad, the fear is hyping up. Like you said, that payoff from season 1 comes back with the mummy, but he's such a joke now because things are so goddamn serious that he's just humor. He's literally the humor inserted in all the seriousness because that's how bad shit is. And the fights were getting good, and you could tell like the scale was tipped right for the Invincibles. I mean, they're everywhere, and literally everyone is trying to do something, and they're all over the world. Like Moscow's getting hits, and you see all these places, London, getting demolished. So it's chaos, and then you're like, how the fuck is Invincible going to do this? Even with everybody fighting, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have a whole bunch of him, and some of them are psychotic, and some of them are really strong. It's like, what the hell are you going to do? And he can't do it all because we see the 2-on-1 fight, and he's getting his ass handed to him, right? He can't deal with 2 of them, and it was just you know, luck that he got out of that situation because Eve was you know, seriously injured. She got really messed up.
Yeah, I remember one of the Invincibles I was fighting. He was like, "Oh, I can't wait to kill you again."
Again,
you know?
Yeah.
You
get
like,
a lot of shit.
I don't know. Did you guys feel any fear for Eve? It's like one good punch is all it'll take to kill her. You know, I was just like, "Yo, those force fields better hold out." You know,
Mhm.
because I remember reading that
Yes.
when I was reading that in the, and I felt it too in the show too. But yeah, when I read that in the comic, like, oh shit. You know, cause I felt like when I read the comics, where you was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, so did you
Yeah,
feel that
man.
way? Like when because
Yeah.
you knew it, one punch from one of these Invincibles, Eve was dead. You know.
Yeah, and these two Invincibles looked like they were on the strong side.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen. What I did sort of expect is there was going to be some type of motivation for Mark, and it would be at the cost of Eve, either hurting herself or something. But it ended up being, I mean, it was pretty brutal, but it ended up just being a broken leg.
Yeah.
Which is sort of similar to how they did, like the parallels between what they did to Eve and what Angstrom Levy did to his mom.
That's right.
Over
Yeah.
there.
That's a good callback. Yeah, for sure. All right. So now I want to get to the latter half of day 2. This is where we see the Guardians, and again, we don't know their name, the former team, you know. So yeah, we had the Guardians battling, didn't go very well from like the scene starts and you just see like Duplicate's body everywhere, like Mitch is dead, seemingly dead. Shave Smith, he's like been ripped in half. Brutal battle, very kind of reminiscent of Omni-Man tearing them down. Obviously a big fight with the Immortal didn't end very well. So yeah, what would you guys think of the Guardians getting taken down by another Viltrumite?
What?
So,
Oh, go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
oh, no, I just gonna say I thought it was brilliant. I made the comment before on this show. We're probably going to see both of the teams get their asses whooped, and that happened in this episode. Both the Guardians as well as the other team, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, Immortal getting his head knocked off. That was but again, the character's name is Immortal, so I figured he probably might come back. And then we know that with Duplicate, there was one version of Kate. Luckily that one version was not involved in this particular fight. But yeah, the other people getting ripped to shreds, the alien guy, that was pretty crazy. We didn't see that. We just saw the aftermath of his body just there. So very interesting. And then what's the other guy's name? Darkwing now.
Yeah, I want to give him a shout out. He's the hero. He saved the team.
So let me ask a question though. So is he dead then? Because he disappeared into the ground. I don't know what happened to him.
He went in the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, well, Rich, that would be a spoiler. So
okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, this is a spoiler podcast, but we don't spoil the comic.
Okay, all right.
Chris, go ahead. Guardians getting fucked up.
It was a fantastic fight too, and then you think back to how Omni-Man, when he turned on them, how he fought them versus how this version of Mark fights them. Because Omni-Man, I think, even though he's brutal, right, he had some sort of respect for them and some understanding of their powers. This version of Mark was bragging the entire time. Remember, he was like, "Oh, what did Shapesmith say to me before I tore him in half?" He said something like, "Oh, my organs," like he's taunting him, right? Like, so some of these versions of him are psychotic, and so he's trying to fuck with them while he's fighting them. He has no respect for them. Like, he just immediately like cut off Immortal's head like during that fight. Like, they throw 2 punches.
He
and he's like,
stomped his head off. That was so
yeah.
brutal.
Yeah,
he just stomped it off.
Yeah, he has no respect for them. So that changes the whole dynamic of the fight. I think Omni-Man was just like, I'm stronger than all of you. I'm just gonna fight you and end this, right? No, he's just like fucking them up like in unimaginable ways, to where it's like it took Darkwing pulling him into the Shadow Realm because they didn't know how to stop him to just end the fight, right? And then he disappears. You don't know what happens. It's just that he's out of the picture now. But that fight was very well done. It kind of contrasts how that version of him fought, and then I keep thinking of how Omni-Man fought the Guardians, and it was completely different.
Yeah, because the thing is, even though obviously not to the degree he should have felt this, but there was still regret with Omni-Man. It's like, okay,
he didn't even talk. Like, he didn't say a word.
Nope. Because he didn't want to. He didn't want to do it, but he had to because he's a loyal Viltrumite.
Yeah.
But yeah, very different because you're right. Mark was just taunting the fuck out of him, and he was like, "That's it. That's all you got. Come on, man. You got to do better than this." Real fucking psycho, man. But yeah, Carlos, what do you think, man? The Guardians getting fucked up.
First of all, I want to say shout out to Darkwing for not ducking that smoke.
Also,
Yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. I appreciate the parallels that Chris mentioned with Omni-Man in that fight. Yo, man, everyone everyone was having it bad, and I'm curious. You know, this is the anime portion of me. The only thing that I'm thinking about throughout most of this episode is power scaling. I'm like, so which mark is better than this one, and which one's better than this world's mark, our mark? So like, because this one would just destroyed him and was not even paying that much attention. He was making fun of him, like you guys mentioned. So I'm curious to see, how this mark, that was fighting him compares to the one that we have. Because if the one that we have was fighting this team, obviously there's conflicts because of the way he feels about them. But I don't know if he tears them apart as easily as this one did, because this one just destroyed the hell out of him and was taunting them during it, and didn't know what their power. Well, maybe he knew what their powers were because multiverse probably has those people. But yeah, I like that. I like that scene. I wanted to see something with Darkwing at the end, but I guess we're gonna have to find out. Either next episode or further on in the series.
Yeah. Again, with this show, it's always good to put a pin on certain things. Put a pin on that. And then obviously we had I'm just going to call them the teen team just for the sake of clarity. They got attacked, and the first thing we saw is like basically a bunch of robots got destroyed. Then we got to the final one. He's like, dude, I know you're in there, man. You're hesitating. And then when he rips the chest out, he's like, wait, who the hell is this guy? Where's that weird thing, that he used to be? And then, Rex shows up and he went out like a hero, like he ran out of shit to destroy, to explode, and he's like, well, I still got my own skeleton,
all I got left is me bones.
Me bones. So that was pretty brutal. And then obviously Ray saw the explosion. She knew what happened. Everybody else kind of knew, like, because the other surviving team, I forget the black dude's name, because he's pretty strong too, and he could fly around. Like he like took the robot and the monster girl, who was like fucked up too. He took him away. So he saw the explosion on the bridge. So did Ray. So yeah, that was probably, and I like how the show lingered on that stuff for a bit. So yeah, what'd you guys think of Rex's last stand? I thought it was well done. We'll start with you, Carlos.
Shout out to Rex. He had a lot of character growth throughout this whole series. I'm gonna pour one out for him. He went out crazy. Yo, man, he was a hero. He ended up being a hero. Shout out to him. I did like the way that he ended his life, and hopefully the life of his opponent, using his own skeleton. That's just crazy. Yeah, man, it's sad now. Like you mentioned, now we know why they were sort of developing these scenes with him and not Monster Girl,
Ray.
With Ray, and because it's a telltale sign, for most storytelling, where it's like, yeah, when they're focusing on this character we haven't focused in a while, maybe there's something going to happen that's going to be pretty crucial to this character's development. And yeah, that's what happened to Rex. Shout out to him.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, his last stand was great. The setup was great with him helping Ray move into her place, and they're having a moment. Then shit goes crazy around him. He goes to fight, and then what he's going into, but he doesn't know. He thinks it's just some like supervillain shit. He's not even aware of what is going on. And then you get to the team place. He saves everybody by distracting Invincible, so Robot and Monster Girl and everybody can escape. So he sacrifices himself, and he threw everything he could. He was throwing shit. He was picking up rocks and making them blow up. He was so desperate to stop him. He blew up a section of the floor, like, but this is Invincible, so it's like nothing stopping him. And then the fact that he dug into his own wound because he was mortally wounded and blasted his skeleton to take him out was epic sacrifice. So and then the show doesn't pull any punches. Like I don't feel like we see anything with that type of balls to tell that type of storytelling ever. And that was very refreshing.
Yeah. Rich, what are your thoughts on Rex's last stand?
Yeah, I thought that was phenomenal. I like the music that they played. They made a very big moment. So this character is dead, 1000% dead, not coming back. And I also thought it was a perfect callback because I know last season when they faced the King Lizard, he was the last one to get the upper hand and win that fight. So they definitely brought this character on a journey full circle. So for him to sacrifice in the end, that was a very, very big deal. They made it mean a lot to everybody involved. So yeah, I thought it was very well done. Fantastic.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Rex, like you guys said, you know. And then right before, you know, the end of the second day, we kind of had the darkest moment, you know. It's like, even though there were some victories, some of the Invincibles were killed at this point. Things are just not going well. And Marcus even like, what's the point of this, man? I just want to stay with Eve, you know, like I don't want to go out there. I'm not gonna be able to really do anything, even though Cecil's like kind of tell him, it's like, hey, you got to get out there and fight, bro. But Marcus, like, I'm just staying with Eve, man. So obviously that's the darkest moment like in the story. But then we get to day 3, you know. We see Angstrom Levy observing everything, and he said phase 1 is complete. You're like, oh shit, phase 1 was going on. And it seems like phase 2 was like he wants to confront Invincible. And at this point, there's 8 of them left. That you got to give it up to the heroes of that Earth, though. 10 out of 18, 10 out of 18 killed or dispatched, because the one with Darkwind, we don't know what happened to that guy.
No clue what happened to that one.
We don't know. So yeah, that's pretty good. But so yeah, what you guys think of like, you know, the kind of reveal of Angstrom? Like, okay, phase 1 is over, bro. We're going for phase 2.
Yo, man, I thought it was gonna be like a whole bunch of marks, and then phase 2 was gonna be a whole bunch of Omni-Mans.
That would have been horrible. Damn.
Yeah, because we're trying to figure out what phase 2 is, and it's just the confrontation with him. I like the way that he separated all the other marks. It only took one Pokeball each for them to be moved to the other dimensions.
That's what I wanted to bring up, Carlos, because remember you were asking, what the hell did he do to get all these guys together? And then you find out he kind of promised them different things. Like one of them, he promised, like, I'm going to give you more multiverse. Another one's like, I'll give you your mom, so they all had different things. And I also like that scene because that's when you see their personalities start clashing, when it's like, man, you're little bitch mama's boy.
Yeah. That one couldn't understand, the one that kind of looked like Spider-Man. He had the full face covering, and he's like, we're all the same person. Didn't anybody give a shit about her? And one is like, oh, I can't wait to kill her again.
Yeah.
They're all different. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and obviously we had the mutiny, Chris, it's like, and Angstrom was prepared for it, but he just didn't know it was going to happen so soon. Then like Carl said, he had the Pokeballs, just take them all away.
Oh they're fucked now.
I'm surprised what his plan was with the other marks for phase 2. Like, were they just going to hold this mark down, and he was going to throw the mirage of Pokeballs at this mark?
Yeah, it's a good question, but yeah, he obviously throws them into that. I don't know what they name it, but it's that dimension where everything's all fucked up.
It's just this dead world that he was in. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think he always planned to do that. I think that was he because he gave it up where he's like, oh, I thought they would betray me a lot later, right? Not at that moment. So I mean, his phase 2 was just to humiliate Mark and make the world hate him. Well, obviously he doesn't want to destroy the Earth, right? Then what would be the point of everything in phase 1? So obviously he would humiliate him, probably kill him, and then he was probably going to just take the Invincibles that were left and throw them in that in that dump world anyway, just to get rid. He wasn't promising shit.
And remember, he hates Invincible in general, from whatever dimension he's from.
Yeah, so there was no master thing. Like he doesn't want to take over the world. Like, this is not like Viltrum legacy or anything. He just hates Invincible. So that's all his plan was. Like all that shit was just for that.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, because the episode didn't say this, I'm wondering if he also thought like, hey, you know what? Even if I lose, I still win because everybody distrusts this guy now. It was kind of a perfect plan in that way. Because like you said, his main thing was like, he wants to torture Invincible, kill him probably, but he wants to make him suffer, more than anything. So yeah, we had Carlos, what do you think of the mutiny that eventually happened?
It made sense. I was like, when one of them started saying something like you see them all and you're expecting them to all think the same.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, like maybe have the same type of motivation or something. But then when you start realizing they're all have different motivations and different thought processes, you're like, oh yeah, this isn't gonna go smoothly for them. So I wasn't surprised with the mutiny. Angstrom Levy, I don't know what the hell he has to offer these marks until we found out later on. Not surprised, and kind of glad that they were out of the way for this final scene. Actually, it would have been kind of cool to see the all one Mark versus all, but just having the Angstrom Levy versus Mark scene at the end was sort of more more poetic in a way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I want to ask you specifically, were you satisfied with the way, with the like motivations they were given / how it ended?
I mean, it wasn't like the best motivations that would satisfy me, but it was good enough. I would say it's good enough.
Yeah, and also again, it's just cool. Like you said, it's like I'm pretty sure most people thought, oh yeah, they all act the same, but it's like no, they all start fighting with each other. Then they turn on Angstrom, because that makes them more realistic.
The only motivation that I felt was like really really good is the one that wanted the multiverse thing. Because the other ones, it seemed like they were like Angstrom Levy would be beneath them in a sense, like in the way they've conquered their own world and stuff.
Yeah. By the way, this is just my personal theory. I think that one that wanted to control the world, the multiverses, the one with the cape. I'm like, I don't know. For some reason, I just got the feeling. I think he's probably the strongest one.
I think he's the one
about him.
Yeah, he's the one who claimed he killed Omni-Man.
Yeah, so yeah. That was you're right. Yeah, that's probably him. But he had that air about him, like, yeah, I could take out all these motherfuckers too if I need to. But yeah, and then I have another question. But Rich, I want to get your thoughts on Angstrom revealing his master plan / the eventual mutiny that happened.
Oh, I thought that was fantastic. Obviously, yes, his goal to get everybody to really despise and hate Invincible was a brilliant plan. And he also had a plan on how to get rid of the others that defied him. So I thought it was a very well put together plan, but there are consequences to making promises with people and not following through.
Oh, yes.
We do find that out rather quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, I will say this in terms of Angstrom Levy and his attempts to persuade the public in this world. If Angstrom Levy were to start his own news network and throw out his propaganda, Powerplex is going to be his right hand man.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about Powerplex in a bit. No, you're right about that. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, there's one odd thing about Powerplex, right? We see when he has all those capacitors pushed in him, when his wife set him up with all those all over his body, he had his suit on, and I always wondered, how did they take it off? Because they went through the suit into his body. They said they can't remove him, so how do you get him undressed? I don't know. That's just a little issue. He's just in an orange jumpsuit, but shouldn't he be wearing that his Powerplex suit like at all times? Yeah, it's grafted to him.
But I mean, I don't think the suit's grafted on. I think it's those pieces that are grafted to him.
Right, but even
so basically, I just imagine around each piece there's like cloth, like
right.
Cut.
Yeah, they'd have to cut around it.
Yeah, they would have to cut around it.
But I think the setup was great. I think Levy also wanted maximum, like you said, torture him. That's why he had them meet at the house, right? Yeah. They're hovering over the house. They're each having a different reaction to being there. And he's trying to emotionally manipulate them. At the same time, he's probably going to kill Mark's mom right then and there, just as part of it. But he wanted them to go get him and bring him there, then start killing her, right, and everyone else around him. And then I don't know what phase 3 would be. Maybe kill him. I don't know. But that was the reason he brought them there. But that ended up backfiring because they ended up turning on him right there at the house. Yeah, and he had to get rid of them.
You had to get rid of them. And then this is a question I have, because I honestly don't remember what happened in the comics with them. What do you guys think those Invincibles are going to do in that other world? Like, because the first thing I thought, it was like, oh, that's like having scorpions in a fucking bottle, bro. Like, they're gonna start killing each other. So what do you think, Rich? What do you think those Invincibles are gonna do?
That is a great question. I have no idea. Obviously I would ask the question, will we see them again? But you can't answer that question, Tony, and neither can you, Chris. So yeah, we know that they did have some conflicting opinions based on the conversation they had right before they got banished. So I would like to see if they go somewhere with that and they do start fighting each other. But I kind of also feel like some of them may survive and find a way back. That's just my speculation because they're still alive. They're not dead. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. What about you, Carlos? Do you have any theories on what those Invincibles are going to get up to?
I have no clue. Maybe start a podcast. It doesn't seem like it'd be anything good because all of them have egos. Obviously, all of them conquered their own worlds. Maybe the one that killed Omni-Man is going to kill. I mean, what if he killed his dad? What's going to make him stop at killing just some random dude that's a variant of himself? Yeah, I would think. If I were to predict something, it would probably be the toughest Mark is going to survive this, and the rest aren't.
Yeah. All right. And then obviously, Mark does show up. Our Mark shows up, and Angstrom's like, "Oh, great, you came to me." And then they obviously have their big battle. Angstrom's really going ham with all those probes and shit. And he almost pushes Mark into one of those portals, but obviously that didn't happen. Instead, Angstrom gets he escapes, but he gets like his arm ripped off, and then he ends up in that world that we saw in the beginning, and we learned that the guys that fixed him up were called the Technicians, and apparently he did a deal with them. He didn't live up to his promise, and they're like, okay, you're our fucking slave now. You work for us, bro. Like, Angstrom didn't figure it. It's like, hey, that shit they put in you? They could use that to control you, bro.
Oh, that's very Cecil-ish of them to do.
Very Cecil-ish, So that happened there. So we'll see what happens from Angstrom. He didn't die, but it seems like he's going to get his comeuppance. So yeah, what do you guys think of the final confrontation there, and then how it ended? Go ahead, Rich.
Let me just say, you guys made the comment earlier about this being a very excellently animated episode. This fight sequence here, the animation in this fight sequence was chef's kiss. You see all the Mark jumping from portal, evading the portals and all this other stuff. A lot of action. I thought it was fantastic. Obviously, they also made it a point to when Mark finally got his hands on him, then Oliver shows up and say, "Hey, you need to kill him," and Mark can't do it. So that I don't know how Oliver will feel about that later. If they ever have a conversation, an interaction later about this.
Yeah, to be fair, though,
I feel they left it ambiguous.
Yeah, because to be fair, Mark hesitated, but then he did say when Oliver's like, "You gotta kill him, He's like, "All right, you've left me no choice." And then Angstrom goes, "Yeah, I feel the same way," and then that's when it's crazy. So Mark he may have done it because remember later on, we'll get to it, but later on he's like, "I should have killed this guy. Look at all the shit he did because of me."
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be that hard on himself. I mean, he blew Angstrom's head open.
Yeah.
In the last season. I mean, you would think a guy is dead if you punched his head so hard you obliterated his fucking skull and his brains are everywhere. How would you know? Oh, he still can move.
I just want to say I did laugh at the begining of the episode. You hear the I was like, how is this guy still alive? That was funny.
Walking Dead episode.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. That was crazy. But so you go ahead, bro.
I wanted to shout out all the Pokeballs that was used in this episode. Hopefully they don't get sued. And the whole thing with Oliver. Shout out to Oliver. I want to say he acts like a little kid most of the time, but the part where he tells him to kill him is super even more justifiable, not only because of the stuff that he's doing to the world right now, but he was there when his mom was messed up by this dude.
Yep, he was there. That's right. He was like a baby. Remember, he has that good memory.
He remembers everything.
You know?
Yep. So
yeah,
definitely, and also going back to the whole, trauma of what's it called, of Invincible, not killing him. I mean, he did mess him up pretty bad. It's but his power is his portal with his hand.
Yeah,
you got to be smarter with that, man. Just chop up the hands and throw them away to different parts of the universe.
You know, it's funny. I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. I don't 100% disagree that the animation was good, but I still felt they cheaped out, because with all those Pokeballs getting thrown around, that entire town should have been fucking leveled. But you didn't see that. I was like, where are those Pokeballs going? They got to be destroying shit.
Yeah,
we didn't see that. So that was the only part where I was like, oh, they kind of cheaped out. They could have. Maybe they ran out of budget or whatever. I was like, it would have been cool to have seen, as he's blocking them, to see them splinter off and like break into fucking buildings and shit. That would have been cool. And there was also one scene where the Invincibles were like floating up, and behind them, you could tell it was just like a picture of a real city. I'm like, that looks fucking cheap, bro. What are we doing? So I think they must have ran out of budget by that point, because they spent so much already. But that, it's a little nitpick aside. But yeah, no, I enjoy that. And also, I want to throw this out there, because sometimes I like to throw stuff at you guys that you may not know, but just to remind you. I don't know if you caught this, but did you notice that Oliver's skin tone was a little bit lighter? Not as purple as usual. Remember what they said before? As he ages, he becomes more Viltrumite. By the time he hits a certain age, he's not going to have any bug DNA whatsoever. So I like how this episode hinted that without actually saying it.
Well, also, he's a little taller too.
He's a little taller too, yeah. But even between episodes, like, it hasn't been that long since we've seen him, but you already see him growing, So keep that in mind.
I just wish they had put in the little bit, like in the comic, his hair was growing. That was
that's right.
When he was changing. So they could have changed his hairstyle. They probably didn't want to change his model, like you said. They're trying to save budget, so they just kept the same.
Next
head.
season, because he is supposed to have longer hair. That's right. Next season, and then obviously, we have the aftermath: cities in ruins, hundreds of thousands dead across the world. And all the heroes that are alive, because a lot of heroes got killed. Apparently, they're all trying to rebuild along with Mark. And obviously, we find out Debbie was fine, all that good jazz. But Powerplex not happy when he sees Invincible. They have a little bit of a tussle, but Mark was wise to him. He just did like a UFC tackle on him, grapple, and just took him down and shit. So that was kind of cool. But you saw it. Everybody around him, they looked at Invincible like, yeah, that was you, bro. So that's what I'm saying. Angstrom still won in that way, like obviously some people, I think at that point people were so traumatized they're just not retaliating against Invincible. But yeah, that seed has been planted, and even a reporter was saying, it's like, oh, we got to find out answers. I don't think any answer they get will satisfy them, because ultimately Angstrom Levy did all that because Mark fucked up his plans, So, what you guys think of pretty much the aftermath? Oh, you also, but tying it into the beginning, because Mark is like, yo, when am I going to meet your parents? And she's like, you don't want to meet them, and obviously we find out why at the end, because the father was being an asshole. And even though the mom was, had good intentions, she kind of messed things up, saying, oh, yeah, one of Eve's old friends died. And he's like, yeah, like, I really need to hear that shit, And then we had, Immortal. He's like, yo, I'm out, bro. Fuck this shit. Me and Kate were leaving. He wants to marry her, which is kind of interesting. And yeah, we had somebody, they mentioned Rex, obviously. Cecil wanted Mark to lead the Guardians. Mark's like, no, I'm not doing this shit, and one thing that Cecil said that was very interesting. He's like, I trust you because you stood up to me, so it lets you know that Cecil is not like, you need to obey me. He appreciates the fact that Mark pushes back, which shows that Cecil's not this like evil guy. Like, obviously he does some questionable things, but he's like, he appreciates the fact that one of these heroes is standing up to him, So yeah, but obviously everything's all fucked up with Mark in the world and everything. But yeah, what do you guys think of the aftermath? Go ahead, Chris.
No, I like that. I like the conversation they had in his office where, Invincible finds out Rex is dead. Like, Robot just says it coldly, like, Rex is dead, but he doesn't know what he did, right?
Yeah, he doesn't know.
He doesn't have that emotional impact. Like, Robot saw it, Monster Girl saw it, but the thing with the conversation between him and Cecil was interesting. I also thought something else was interesting, which bothered me. Cecil had that device on him at all times to subdue Mark with that noise.
Yeah.
How come he only waited till then to go, hey, we need to make more of these?
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Or make it bigger, or like make a gun that could shoot the noise out. He didn't think of any of that. He just kept it in his pocket, like, oh shit, I should have made more of these, because he broke it to kill one of them that hit the Pentagon.
Yeah.
So I thought that, I was like, should have thought of that. But yeah, I mean, and it repeats the themes that Cecil said I think at the beginning of this season. The theme coming back where we're either the good guys or the guys who save the world, right?
Yeah,
You have to make sacrifices if you want to protect the greater good. So that is coming back around now. But yeah, he's not despotic, right? It's not Cecil's way or the highway. And that's why he gives Mark so many chances. And other characters ask too, who else could break into the Pentagon, bust up the White Room or whatever, smash all their stuff and leave? And Cecil's cool with that, right? But he was cool with it because he knew Mark was a good person. He was an asset, so he just didn't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Cecil trusts Mark more than Mark trusts himself. Like he knows Cecil, he knows character and stuff, so he knows what Mark is all about. Even if that's why he's willing to. Again, they've had these clashes. Like, I want you to be the leader of the new Guardians, and also, and as real life history has shown, people who don't want to be leaders are actually make the best leaders. Shout out to George Washington.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carlos, what do you think of the aftermath?
Yo, man, it was carnage. I'm not surprised by the Powerplex stuff and all the seeds that's going to lead to potentially having Invincible and being not America's but the world's most hated person.
Yes.
So we'll see how that goes on. I'm also, you mentioned the whole stuff with Omni Kid, turning more into a Viltrumite. I'm curious to see what happens with that. Yeah, I just want to see what happens with Paul. That's the part that's the most interesting. What's Paul's fingers got all over this? All of this massacring stuff.
What Carlos wanted was when Levy went to the technicians, a chair turns around and it's really Paul.
It's really Paul.
Yes, it's got to happen. And the whole thing with Cecil making Invincible or asking Invincible to be the leader is going to be interesting because of who's coming up next or in what came up next. And yeah, I wonder. I don't know if he's I'm pretty sure he's gonna do it eventually. It's gonna take some time, but it makes me worried. Obviously, I don't know what's gonna happen, but if Cecil is telling him to lead him, and then never mind. Immortal's already out, right?
Yeah, he's out. He quit.
That makes sense. Okay, I was gonna say something's gonna happen to Immortal or something.
Yeah, something did happen. He quit. He's like, no, taking the little Asian girl. I'm going somewhere else. Like
he's going to History House. Yeah.
Go ahead, Rich. What are your thoughts on the aftermath?
Well, first and foremost, let me start by saying I look forward to the spinoff show where Immortal is raising a family with Kate. That should be quite interesting.
Duplicates.
Yes,
that's a lot of
duplicates.
Kids.
There you go. Yes.
Duplicates.
No, I thought. I think I really loved, one thing about this show, it's always the ongoing theme of the conflicts that Mark has to deal with. And then he always is getting involved in something, and then the public looks at him sideways later on. And I think it's, again, like you said, Tony, Levy's whole plan did work because now people know that he is responsible for all the carnage and chaos that happened. It's a very complicated relationship, you know what I'm saying? So I thought they did a very good job of telling that story. As for his reaction to Rex, like you guys said, he didn't see what happened with Rex. Robot did. So, and again, they did a very good job of showing that from an emotional standpoint of him doing all the sacrificing. But I believe one of you made the comment earlier, this felt like this was the season finale, and it did feel like they could have ended the season. But again, we know why they didn't. But everything that happened, all the fallout, I thought it was very well done. and it puts Mark in, once again, another conflicted state where he knows that he's upset a lot of people. He doesn't really know how to deal with that. But apparently there is one solution to that, and that goes to what Tony is going to bring up as the final point of the episode.
Yeah, for sure. Again, this is another one of these things I've been waiting for. By the way, real quick, before we get to it, I want to give a shout out to a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Charles Singletary. Now, when I first joined the Koalition around 11 years ago, he started reading Invincible, right? So obviously this was well before the show, and the hot comic had already ended at that point. So when he got to Conquest, he took to Twitter and went crazy, like, yo, this villain, bro. Like so it's just kind of funny that now, you know, people are going to see. So yeah, obviously during the aftermath, Mark's looking at, you know, he's surveying a city, he's helping, and his Viltrumite shows up. Fucked up looking Viltrumite, robot arm, scars and shit. He's like, yo, what the hell are you doing? I came here to observe, and you haven't taken shit over. What the hell is this shit? You know? And then Mark's like, listen, bro, I don't got time for this. This is the wrong time. You know, it's like, okay, this is why they sent me. And then Mark is like, you know what? I've been fighting for 3 days. All this shit is my fault. All I want to do is fucking hit something. You know, and Conk was like, good. You know, and then they fucking go at each other. Bam! The fucking episode ends, bro. Conquest, man. I'm not gonna say nothing more, but you can hear the enthusiasm in my voice. You know, shit's about to get real. And I love it. I will say this though, even though this was like, it felt like a season finale, I'm glad it's not, because it would have been torture to wait fucking whatever amount of months to see that
fight
resolution. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm getting too hype right now, man. Somebody stop me.
Well, I will say this. I'm going to call out Games Radar here, because the payoff for this episode was ruined as soon as probably the embargo lifted for this episode, and they put out an article, and the title had Conquest in it. It said Conquest is here, and I'm like, you sons of bitches, right? You didn't tease anything with this, whatever. Thursday morning, open up Twitter, boom, it's there. And the tweet said it too, right? Jesus. Along with the subtext, which spelled out, oh, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Joseph Show, blah, 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 blah. They just spoiled everything, right? Spoiled the whole episode. It's like, guys, calm the fuck down. You bury that, you tease it in the article so people read it. You know, a lot of people don't, people skim stuff. They look at the title or whatever. So they put the shit right in the title. And it's like, God damn it, that's fucked up. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, the way they should have done it, because we talked about this before the show, the way they should have done it is have a headline be of a tease, like, oh, something big just arrived on Invincible, something like that. Then you have like your opening statements or whatever, a couple paragraphs. You're not saying anything crazy yet. Then you have spoilers follow. Then you go ham. That's how you're supposed to do it. But again, we live in this age where you got to spoil everything, you know. So hopefully that didn't get spoiled for you, Rich, and you, Carlos. Me and Chris, you were ready for it, but it's still a fucked up. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I was mad about it, but yeah, I knew that, but I'm not. You know, we're purposely trying to be careful not to say anything.
Yeah.
So that really pisses me off. The publication does it, and it's blasted all over Twitter, and they write an article like that. I'm like,
yeah, go ahead, Rich.
To be fair, it doesn't really mean anything to me.
Okay, that's good. So you guys weren't affected by it then?
No. Well, I didn't see the article anyways, but if I would have saw the article beforehand, it wouldn't have meant anything.
Yeah.
So I also didn't see the article. I wasn't impacted. I will, however, say this: if you are a fan of The Walking Dead, you are very much rejoicing this, because I think it was obvious at some point Jeffrey Dean Morgan was going to be a part of this show. And again, if you are a Walking Dead fan, you know that his character Negan killed Glenn in The Walking Dead.
Yes.
So now everybody has a chance to see Glenn have a fighting chance, maybe against this version of the same actor.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You got to rename the podcast I Am Conquest.
I Am Conquest. So yeah, Carlos, what do you think of that ending tease, Conquest?
Yo, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm mostly excited because of Mark's attitude at the beginning of this, which is not something that he's usually, in line for. So usually sort of like holding back. So seeing him, being ready for anything, that gets me excited. And this dude looks like he's a grizzled veteran.
Yeah,
so,
actually, I'm going to put it in context because remember, me, you, and Chris, we've been playing something called Monster Hunter. This is a tempered Viltrumite, Like, think about it. He's got fucking robot arm scars and shit. Like, that's a tempered dude. He's seen some stuff. Yeah, so, Rich, what do you think of Conquest?
Fantastic. I know that we got the warning from a while back when Mark had the other fight with the female Viltrumite. Yeah. She said there is somebody more powerful that is going to be coming after you. And this is, was waiting for this moment to see when this was going to happen, because I initially thought if Levy was not behind that device, it was this individual. So now that to get that reveal the same episode, fantastic. And I look forward to seeing this fight. And to go to the point that Carlos made earlier, I do have a feeling that Nolan and Alien will return, because the reason why they weren't a part of that fight is because they have bigger things to worry about, which is the Viltrumite War. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them return by the end of the next episode.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll see. I guess that's a good prediction. I do want to toss this one thing out there. Again, no spoilers, but again, I want you guys to think about certain things. Remember, Viltrumites are very, very, very strong, right? And this guy is missing an arm and he's scarred. Remember, Nolan's books talk about things that can kill Viltrumites, right? So just think, what did Conquest face? That if he's supposed to be one of the strongest Viltrumites, what did he face? So just think about that, All right, man. Again, this was a fantastic podcast episode. This is the podcast episode I've been waiting to do since we started doing this. So very happy. And then obviously we're going to have a hell of a season ender. That's going to be tough, man. I was like, fuck. Like, again, I read the books, but since it's been so long since I've read them, I'm kind of watching a lot of this stuff as new, so I'm looking forward to see the episode, but I'm not looking forward to waiting until like next February to see where things go. But again, we know that the show is now locked in for 8 seasons. That is probably going to be enough to do the whole thing, especially if they kind of condense some of this shit. Bro, as usual, we're gonna, me and Chris are gonna step back and let Rich and Carlos speculate on what you think is gonna happen next episode and what do you want to happen. So, Carlos, you go first.
I want a battle. I want to see a big fight. Hopefully, most of the first half, if not all of the first half, is just the battle between these two folks, and hopefully, we got to get Alan the Alien back, man.
your boy,
my dude. That's my dude.
That's my dude.
We need him back. We need him and Omni-Dad to be back.
Omni-Dad. All right. What about you, Rich? What do you want to see next episode, and what do you predict may happen?
I agree 100%. We need to see those two characters return. We need to know what they've been up to since the last time we saw them. So to really end off the season, we need to get an update on what's going on with them. Obviously, yes, there will be another fight with Mark in Conquest. I do expect a lot of violence, carnage, and more so the aftermath. The other thing is Eve didn't really wake up at the end of this episode, so I assume she will wake up by the end of this episode, and they'll have some type of conversation again. But overall, I'm just looking forward to seeing a really awesome season finale. I don't know what else they can throw at us, but I'm 100% sold. So we'll see.
Yeah. The only thing that's upsetting to me about the season finale is that we possibly may not have Carlos on for that one. He's going to be in jolly old England. So Carlos, we'll see what we can do about that,
Yeah, we'll stay in touch. Hopefully, if you guys record during the time when I'm available, I'll surely join. But if not, maybe I'll text you my thoughts.
There you go. Yeah, I definitely want to get that. All right, good stuff, man. So let's start wrapping up here. Rich, what's going on with the Koalition, both in entertainment and gaming this week?
Yeah, so with the Koalition Entertainment, Dana actually just recorded a review for Daredevil episode 1 and 2. As well as the Spider-Man show that's been on Disney Plus. So if you want to hear her thoughts on those shows, definitely stay tuned. You're already here on the channel. For the other Koalition stuff, myself, Dana, and Gary, we recorded. We brought back the Power Show this past Friday. Glad to see everybody is tuning in, liking the reviews so far. We will be continuing to review the season, so stay tuned for more episodes. And on the gaming side, I'm playing a lot of different games right now. There's a lot of things that I wish I could talk about. I can't talk about it yet, but I would just say stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of thoughts on a lot of upcoming games very soon on the website. So look for that.
All right, good stuff. And you could also catch the four of us on Throwdown every Thursday and Sunday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and YouTube. This week will be, I'm not really sure what's going to happen this week. So, we'll see. Hopefully some drama happens that we could talk about. And also, I hope, for those who have seen it, hope you guys have been enjoying our Epic Monster Hunter streams. We're going to keep those going for a while. So make sure you check us out. That's pretty much every Friday, Saturday night, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Also over on our respective YouTube and Twitch channels. And yeah, man, stay tuned for more good stuff coming to you. But yes, one more episode of the Invincible podcast. I'm hyped as fuck, and you guys are in for a treat right now. So yeah, man, that's going to do it for us. So make sure you check us out everywhere, man. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and today I was joined by Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good week, everybody.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
And Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
All right, guys, you already know. Next week, get ready, man. Later.
Latest.